Sir Hell speaks in the building.
It's all a bluff. It's all a bluff. It said you never thought I was good enough, but I called you Ace, your kingdom, and it's all a bluff. I've been thinking, 'cause I don't wanna waste my precious time.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the one and the only Sir Hell speaks in the building. Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Sir Hell Speaks in the building. What's going on, everybody? How are you tonight? I am very glad to see everybody. Shout out to everybody who's come in already. I see you in the chat already giving the likes out, letting people know the support. Thank you guys so much. Welcome. Happy Wednesday to everybody. How have you been? It has been a long time since I've done a live. I've been taking care of some school and some business and some working out. But we are back tonight for a great show. Before we get started, though, I want to give a couple of shout outs to my people who are in the building. Shout out to the one of the only SHSC and the Creative Space with Lady Hell. What's going on with you, baby? What's going on with you, baby? Good to see you tonight. Salute to Knowledge and Relationships in the building. Good to see you. The one and the only Bravo with Sheila. Ladies, let's chat is in the building. It is good to see you. Shout out to the one of the only Square Roots is here. What's going on, brother? Good to see you, man. Glad that you are here. And congratulations to you, by the way. Not long ago, you celebrated graduating with a degree. Salute to you. Everybody in the chat, please show Square Roots some love. He just finished school, yet pushing forward. I want to give him some salutations and some respect. Congratulations to you, sir. A salute to the one and the only Casey Rush is in the building. What's going on with you? Good to see you. Shout out to Anye. What's going on with you? Glad that you were here tonight. Glad that you are here. So a couple of announcements, guys. So you guys know over the last couple of salute to my brother Ricky. What's up, bro? Good to see you, man. Everybody, be sure to like and subscribe to my brother Ricky. Great content. I'll be sure to subscribe. So, guys, a couple of things, house cleaning. So you guys know over the last couple months, I had lost monetization to my channel, but we are back. We are back in action. Really glad for that, guys. So feel free to patronize, show some love. 99 cents something. A show of love. I really appreciate you guys. Shout out to all of our channel members who are still rocking with us. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you. All right, guys. So we're going to get into a show tonight. If you looked at the name of the title and you saw the thumbnail, you kind of know we're going to get into something. A wife and a mother is accused of doing this to her husband, and then she writes a book. Now, before I go into this, this needs to be said. You guys know I have started off my content, and really my aim was to speak to men, for men, and about men. It just so happens when it comes to relationships, I communicate the issues that men try to articulate to women who say that they want to be in relationships. But I do think that there has to be a conversation had, because I think the conversation in terms of relationships and modern women, we have to bring in the other side of this. And just going out talking more and being around a lot more people, you start to see that there are a lot of modern men too. And what happens when we have these type of conversations is it gets hijacked. If you look at any particular movement, if you're not careful and if it is not protected very carefully, people who are more radical in terms of their approach and thinking oftentimes bandwagon, and they pollute the entire message that's being had. And so I think that when we talk about relationships, there's a lot of different people who want to be in the conversation, but they are not prepared with the foundational skills it takes to have one of their own. And them not having the skills produces a bad relationship. And then when they have a bad relationship, they come and complain. And they look at the other person instead of taking some time to look at themselves. So I say this to say, gentlemen, when we talk about the issues we see with our women, the goal should never be to communicate this from a place of hate or from a place of deep-seated frustration where you can't hear an alternate perspective on what might be happening in your life. Listen, I don't know about you guys. When I talk about relationships, I talk about this because, first of all, I want to see my sisters, the women I know, the women who come to my channel, I want to see you successful. I want to see you married. I want to see you raising your kids successfully. I want to see you being a darn good wife to your man. I want to see you loved on. So even if we communicate a hard message, the goal is not to communicate a message just to be hard. It's a means to an end. And realizing that some of the ladies who come to my channel, you've never heard candid truth. And if you did, it was so wrapped up in so much extra that it was hard to really chew the meat and spit out the bone. So it needs to be said, we love women. Any guy who comes over here, if your heart is not that you love the women in your life, doesn't mean you agree. It doesn't mean that they don't get on your nerves. It doesn't even mean that you haven't had a bad experience, but we're not communicating from a place of hate. We communicate from a place of love. We want to see families developed and strong. Can we agree to that, everybody?
Sir,
if you agree with this, let me know. Shout out to JJ, all the way from Australia. Good to see you. Glad that you were here. Everybody show some love to Australia in the building. All right, guys. So with this being said, I'm bringing up this story because last week I was out somewhere and I came across this story. I think I was doing some studying or something, and I saw this story and I thought it was interesting. So I'm gonna go over this article with you, and I want to show you something that happened. This woman is married to a man, and they have a typical life where he's doing pretty well in life. He's got some savings. He's a businessman. She's a wife. She does some work as well. From the outside looking in, they have it all together. But I want to extrapolate a couple of points that I think are big. It's an extreme case that I'm going to use to expose a point that I think happens all too often in many of our relationships. So, guys, you sit back, buckle your seatbelts. Have you guys hit the like button? Before we start, have you hit the like button? If you hit the like button, just put a 1 in the chat. Let me know that you did. And if you shared this, if you want to be fancy, share this out with somebody as well. I really appreciate you guys. I really do. So let me share my screen. And I'm going to go over this with you. So the story intrigued me because of a number of things. It intrigued me for a number of things. Shout out to Big Bad Bull. Good to see you. It intrigued me for a number of reasons. Number one, it intrigued me because I felt that in relationships, it is so easy to focus on the issue of the other person. So we know how we deflect from our own selves and we look at the other person. This particular deal was different because as a married man, it'll be 16 years. June 21st of this year, we'll be married for 16 years and together for like 19 or 20. I am a proponent. Now, this is old school, but I'm going to be real with you. I'm a proponent. If you have kids with somebody, you shouldn't be having children with somebody you're not willing to marry. Now, that's old school, but that's my stance. Shout out to Mr. He Said. Good to see you in the building tonight. Shout out to the Food Channel as well. My stance is if you're going to have children, you should be married. I just believe that. An older school philosophy is if a man is going to get a woman pregnant, well, you got to make her honest. If she's willing to be a wife and a good mother to your kid, we don't need to see any more single mothers out here, any more fatherless children or fathers who are not in the kids' lives. We need to develop families. And if we're going to take that big step to bring a life in the world, it is incumbent on both parents to do what's in the best interest of the child. And the only way that this should not happen, the only way that you guys shouldn't get married is if you guys are extremely incompatible. You understand? But I believe, and I think that this should be the approach for everybody. We should stop having kids with people you don't want to marry. I don't understand why folks do it. If you don't want to marry them, why bring an entire life and bind yourself to them for the rest of your life? It doesn't make sense. But after reading stories like this, it has made me look at my perspective and at least start asking some deeper questions as to whether or not this is really smart or not. You see what happens when you get new information, sometimes what you think, your previous presupposition, your previous thoughts, your previous stance, sometimes you have to reevaluate with new information that becomes available. So looking at this as a man who believes that if you are with somebody and you got kids, get married because of kids or stay married because of kids. After reading a story like this, my stance on that is slightly changing a bit. So let's go into this story and I'm going to show you guys why this is. All right, so this woman is married to a man. Let me put it on here. You guys can see that, right? Yeah. All right, so Utah mom is accused of poisoning her husband with this drug, fentanyl, in a cocktail and took out around $2 million in life insurance policies on him. This is deep. So let's read through this story a bit. So a woman who allegedly spiked her husband's drink with fentanyl and then wrote a children's book about the grief after he died is now accused of secretly taking out almost $2 million in life insurance policies on him. The allegations against Corey Richards were raised in an amended court document filed Thursday that led to the postponement of a detention hearing originally scheduled for Friday. Let's go on that just a bit. Richards, 33, is charged with aggravated murder and 3 counts of possession of a controlled substance with the intent to distribute following the death of her husband, Eric Richards, last March. He was found unresponsive in the bedroom of their home in Camas, about 40 miles southeast of Salt Lake City, after she made him a Moscow Mule to celebrate a business deal. Now let's stop here for a second. It's interesting to think about this because of how all of this is playing out, right? So this is all alleged. Now, the case is still pending. There's still some work. This has not been proven. She has not been yet convicted of this as of yet, to my knowledge. But there's certainly charges brought against her because of this. So you imagine you're married to a woman and you have on the outside what appears to be a stable relationship. Your wife, however, has issues that either you knew about and you thought that it would get better after marriage, or you were oblivious to it. I'll give you guys this point. I want you guys to understand that marriage will not fix issues that you see in the dating phase. A lot of people think that you get married and something clicks and things change. No, marriage makes what you are come out in a more amplified fashion, right? So if a person is an overspender when you guys are dating, it's not going to change just in and of itself when you guys get married. It's going to get worse because marriage amplifies what's already in you guys. So they have a good lifestyle and, things are going well. And let's read a little bit more, y'all. Let's read a bit more. This story is going to get very interesting. It's going to get very interesting. All right, he was found unresponsive after his wife made him a particular drink to celebrate a business deal. A great day of his life. A great day of his life. He's celebrating with the woman he loves, and little did he know, based off of the allegations, that the one he wanted to celebrate with was at the party, but wasn't there to celebrate him. I think this is an important point for everybody in relationships. You can be with somebody who's at the party of your life, but who's not really there to celebrate you. And it is very important for you to make sure that if you're going to be with somebody, that you see little snippets and signs as to whether or not they're for you or not. And you got to stop overriding your instincts. You have to stop overriding that gut feeling that tells you that something is off. Because a lot of you think that you can love a person, you can give enough to a person to change how they feel about you. And I don't care how many presents you provide. I don't care how good of a man you are or how good of a woman you are. Your love cannot change how somebody feels about you. It might cover it up a bit. It might make things better. It might provide a very short-term level of peace, but there's nothing you can do to change somebody's feelings towards you. That's something that they have to work on themselves. And I think that so many people in relationships go in or either stay in a relationship and they see these different red flags and they choose to ignore them because deep down, you believe that if you just love enough, if you stick it out, that it's going to get better. And sometimes it doesn't work this way. This guy wanted to celebrate with his wife, and she made him a drink, allegedly. And this would be his final drink after a celebration of a business deal. So let's read some more. Let's go into this. Let's see how crazy this gets. So an autopsy and toxicology report found that he died from a fentanyl overdose, according to a probable cause statement. Prosecutors said Richens slipped 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl into the cocktail. Now, a year after his death, guys, listen to this. This is where it gets absolutely crazy. A year after his death. Now, again, this is all allegation. This is how, the case is still pending. There's still work to be done here. But according to this, a year after his death, she publishes a book about grief titled "Are You With Me?" to create peace and comfort for children who have lost a loved one. According to a description on Amazon, she dedicated the book to my amazing husband and a wonderful father. Now, this has since been removed from Amazon. Guys, I want you to hear this. So she's accused of, slipping drugs into her husband's drink, which ultimately is the cause of his demise. And then a year later from this, she writes a book on grief. Now, listen, I won't say too much and I won't drill too hard on this, but if this is true, I want you to think about the insanity of all of this. To create a situation and then create something to grieve. This is what made me want to do this show. This is a very extreme case of someone that sabotaged their own marriage, sabotaged their own relationship, and then wanted sympathy and wanted to help people to overcome grief. Now, this is an extreme case. This is not the majority, but it made me think about relationships today. That there are so many people who cry over situations that they created. How many people, how many women are upset, are disgruntled at their relationships? How many women get in relationships and they do dirt, they do wrong, they cheat on their man, they mistreat their man, they create a situation that no one wants to be in, and then once it gets bad, they grieve about it. I call this manufactured grief. It is when you directly contribute to the downfall of your own relationship, and then you want to project to the world your concern about people going through grief. This is some very psychotic stuff, y'all. And I think this case, while extreme, obviates something that we see in our culture. How many times have you seen people, whether this is your family or it is your friend, complain about a situation that they've created? You guys let me know in the comments. How many of your friends have you ever had a girlfriend in your life who complained about her marriage is in the toilet, right? Her relationship is on the rocks. A man complaining about his wife, about the state of his relationship, and you start drilling down, and really the problem is not the other person, it's them. But they are so focused on making the issue the other person that they cannot take some time to look at themselves and realize that they're the ones who are the direct contributors of the toxic relationship that they're in. Does that make sense? And I'm pretty sure if you've lived long enough, if you've been in relationships, either you have seen this done, and if we're being honest, you're capable of being that person too. Like, I know it's very easy to be critical and to let yourself off the hook and assume that this kind of behavior can only happen from other people because you're logical and you're spiritual and you're a good person and you could never do that. But the truth is, being decent is a choice. And I have found that even some of the kindest people, the sweetest people, given the wrong circumstance, the person who you think would never do that absolutely would, given the right circumstance. Is that fair to say? So this is what this man is dealing with. He's married to a woman who he's celebrating a business deal, and they're getting ready to party. She makes him a drink. He dies because of this. A year later, she creates a book and dedicates the book about grief to the husband. If this is true, she's created a sort of token that really that serves as a level of evidence of her guilty conscience. How many of you are grieving about the brokenness of your relationship when you're the one with the sledgehammer? Let's read a little bit more, guys. I want you to ponder on that for a second. Let's read a little bit more. All right, so the court document filed Thursday alleged that in September 2020, Eric Richins found out that his wife had obtained and spent a $250,000 home equity line of credit on their home, that she had withdrawn at least $100,000 from his bank accounts and spent more than $30,000 on his credit cards. Guys, this is crazy. This is absolutely insane. Why am I bringing this up? Because a lot of times if you're a good-hearted person, let me go here for a second. Let me just talk to you for real for a second. If you're a good-hearted person, you're not one of the people who are just ruthless. Like, you're not vicious with people. You're kind, you give people a second chance. You're the kind of person, you see the good in people, right? Even when the evidence against them is insurmountable, you choose to see the good in people. I'm talking to people like that. A lot of times people who want to see the good in people end up hurting themselves because they are looking for good instead of just looking for real. Like, sometimes your first inclination can't be to see people the way you want to see them. Like that's step 2 or 3. The first step is seeing them for how they are, for who they really are. And I think that this is an issue, particularly if you haven't had strong male presence in your life that gives you the ability or the steps to be logical in the way you approach stuff. Like you don't get in relationships with your heart at first. You make a decision, especially about who you're going to spend your life with and have children with. This is a very logical decision. Is love a part of this? Absolutely it is. But so many people go into these very serious relationships with their heart and they leave their head out. And the only time that their head comes into play is when they have to divorce. And now the strings that binded their hearts have been severed. Now they have to be logical to find a way to outmaneuver the other person to come out on top in the case of a divorce, right? So if you're a kind person and you're a loving person, you have to be especially careful because people prey on you. Like they'll do wrong, they'll step over your boundaries, they'll disrespect you. In this case, this is a clear-cut case of financial abuse. Listen, did you guys hear this? Like, take a look at what it says. It says that she took out a $250,000 home equity line on their home. In addition to that $250,000 home equity line, she withdrew $100,000 from his accounts. Not only this, there was about $30,000 spent on credit cards. It gets even deeper. She's also accused of appropriating distributions made from her husband's business for the purpose of making federal and state quarterly tax payments and not paying the taxes. The stolen tax payments totaled at least $134,000. So just what we're talking about, we're at $500,000. And this just made me think of whether this is money or this is time or this is love or your reputation. You being with the wrong person costs. Like it's important. When you're with somebody who's for you, it should be an investment. Like you don't go behind the person's back you're with and you create debt and you go behind there and you create more bills. That's a clear-cut case of financial abuse. This is why so many women get so much pushback who say that they want a high-value man who's a provider. Because in a lot of cases, you have rarely heard in these kind of conversations that a woman has access to a man's money and then she multiplies it. Like she takes that money, it reinvests it, or she finds some way to store it and to stack it and to make it more. Typically what you find with women who want men of means is they want a pocket that they can spend from. This wife, without her husband's consent, she's at $500,000. You being with the wrong woman, you being with the wrong man is expensive. It will create holes in your financial life, in your emotional life, and you'll find yourself working to get out of holes, but not to make progress. Because when you're with the wrong person, they create potholes instead of creating bridges. And you got to look at those signs and care enough about yourself. And I know that sometimes it's difficult and it's much harder said than done. I mean, it's easier said than done, especially when you've got kids in the mix. Sometimes you got to look at the sign and do what's in the best interest of you, because what good is it for you to, for the sake of the family, stick with the family if it's going to cost you being here? Because this is a very serious conversation. It is so ridiculous that it makes you want to talk about it, but there are points from this we can extrapolate. You being with the wrong woman, sir, will cost you. You being with the wrong man, lady, will cost you. You have to be okay that if they're showing you signs, you got to care enough about yourself to do what's in the best interest of you. And I know that sounds selfish. You understand? Like saying things like this can come off as very selfish, particularly when you're not trained to be self-responsible. Like when you're responsible about yourself, you're called selfish. And sometimes it's not you being selfish. You're not being self-absorbed. You're just being responsible. This man would have been here if he saw these signs, and instead of sticking around for the kids, he chose himself. He may have still been here. Is this making sense, y'all? Let's read a little bit more because it gets a little bit more crazy. So, after she, steals the tax payment, it goes on to say, Eric Richins confronted his wife about the money, and she agreed to pay him back. Like, she agreed to pay him back. The following month, in October, Eric Richins consulted a divorce lawyer and an estate planning lawyer. The document said, unbeknownst to his wife, he changed his will, formed a living trust, placed his estate under the control of his sister Katie Richins Benson, and designated the trust as the beneficiary of his $500,000 life insurance policy, according to the filing. So he did what I said. When you see these signs, you got to go. Do you understand? If you are religious, I want you to pray for them, but pray for them while you're gone. Because when people are that manipulative, there is no depth that they'll go to, because they're not in it for you. They're in it because there is something about your life that provides a lifestyle for them. And as long as you are able to produce, they'll stick around, and they'll lie to you. When you confront a manipulator, when you confront somebody who demonstrates narcissistic patterns, they'll tell you whatever you want to hear to get you off of their case. But sometimes the damage is so deep, you really can't. There's no really turning that thing around. It's not turning it around. Listen, after you put me $500,000 in debt, where are we supposed to go from here? Right. So he did the right thing. He got himself an attorney. He, changed his will. He did this. But watch how crazy this goes even from here. Listen to this. So it further alleges that in 2015 and 2017, Richins bought at least 4 life insurance policies on her husband, totaling almost $2 million. Eric Richins was unaware that she had purchased the policies, the document said. Richins also allegedly changed a separate life insurance policy that her husband had to list herself as the beneficiary. Now, guys, this is some of the most ridiculous stuff I've heard. Right? She changed the policy. It's all about money for her. Ladies, I want you to understand, if you're the kind of woman, particularly when we have these conversations, that you lead with what a man earns and you don't talk about his health, his life, his heart, his mind, his dreams, his goal, his aspirations. You lead with how much he earns because of a lifestyle you have to live. Sometimes you come off as a woman who's only interested in what a man can provide, and you're not interested in who he is. The worst part of this is if we flip this, sometimes men do the very same things. Sometimes you were with a woman and you're not with her because you love her. You're not with her because of, you plan on building a life. She's a means to an end. And it's incumbent on everybody who's watching this that if you're in relationships and if you have people you love, you got to put them on game. Just because people smile at you, say that they love you, and act like they're with you doesn't mean that it's true. Their behavior tells you exactly how they feel about you. Take that to the bank. They can tell you they love you to the moon. They can tell you they love you till you go around the universe. If their actions over a sustained period of time does not match what their words are saying, you can't hold on to words hoping that it's real. Their actions are telling you everything that you need to know. If somebody's taking out insurance policies on you that you don't know about, they're not doing this on accident. You got to know the signs. Let's read a little bit more, and then I'm going to open up the call lines because I want to hear what you guys have to say about this. Is this story not crazy? Right? So Eric Richins was alerted to it and was able to change it back to his business partner, the filing said. The document also provided additional details on Richins' alleged attempts to poison her husband with fentanyl pills she obtained from an acquaintance identified in court documents as CL. So the successful attempt in which she caused her husband to overdose and ultimately pass away because of fentanyl, that wasn't her first. That wasn't her first time. So all in all, what I'm saying, guys, is in relationships, particularly in 2023, it's not like it used to be. People are money driven, people are money hungry, people are self-absorbed, and people are no longer in today's climate, they're not looking for relationships. Like we come on here and we talk about families and having children and building legacies. And so we have great dialogue online. When you go out into the real world, people are trying to hustle and survive. Sometimes people in their head, all they know is how to use people. And that sense of greed and entitlement would drive you to some of the darkest behaviors to do things that you never probably imagined yourself doing. I'm bringing this up to say that it's only fair that if I talk about producing high quality relationships, I got to give you the real side of what to look out for. Because the truth is, most men, there is a woman who is your weakness. I'm gonna open up the call lines because I want to hear from you guys. But for every man, there is a woman that is your weakness. What's going on, Sugar Bum? Good to see you. The Quiet Storm is in the building. Good to see you. What's going on, y'all? Is that fair to say? For every man, there is a woman who is your. Have you guys ever had a brother or an uncle or some man in your life that when he was single, he was one way? You know, he worked on a car, you know, maybe played video games. He went to work, came home. He was chill. You know, he was very decisive. And then that man gets with a woman he done fell in love with, and that man become a little bit mushy. Like he's less decisive. Everything he does is to keep the woman he's with happy. It's like he's not even thinking for himself anymore. Everything he does is oriented to please the woman that he's with. Y'all know people like that. Truth is, some of your daddies were like that. That's how you got here. Fell in love, lost his mind. Fellas, I don't care how in love you are. You don't ever lose your mind over the woman you're with. I want you to listen. I want you to experience love. I want you to be with a woman who cares about your heart, who cares about your spirit, who cares about your life and your health. I want you to have marital bliss. You're going to go through the ups and downs, but overall, I want you to have a successful marriage. But don't you ever fall so deeply in love that you stop thinking. And to be quite honest with you, if you're with a woman who loves you, she won't want you to fall in love to that degree. She will want you to feel confident. She will want you to know that you can trust her, that she's loyal, and she'll do what it takes to make that real. But a woman who loves you doesn't want you to lose yourself and the love she's providing for you. What attracts a woman like that to you is the fact that you have a stance, that you stand on principles and on morals, and that if life happens and you lose everything, you don't lose the values that you live by. Don't you ever fall so deep in love that you overlook red flags. The same thing with you sisters. While it is true that men have a weakness, some of you women do too. You get digmatized. You find the right guy that does just what you want, particularly if he's the best man you've ever had, and you will just completely lose your mind. You done lost your mind. You know, you're the things that you were supposed to be doing to take care of your life, supposed to be finishing school, taking care of your kids, supposed to be a faithful attendant of your church. You don't forget all of that now that you done got a man. Don't you ever fall so deeply in love that you can't see red flags when they are being waved in your face. All right. Okay, guys, what do you think about what we talked about tonight? Was this story not crazy? And if it was, what would you say to somebody who's seeing red flags in their relationship? Because certainly everybody is bound to experience stuff, but how long do you stay in something like this, especially if you're married? Like you forgive a person, but does this mean you forget what you see? How do you handle yourself in situations like this where you're with somebody and they're showing you signs? In one breath, they say that they love you, but the actions aren't matching up. What do you say to something like that? Let me drop the link And I want to hear what you guys have to say about this. Yep. Y'all listen, take that point, clip it, tell it to your sons and your daughters. Don't you ever fall so deeply in love that you stop seeing the truth in people. Don't you do it. And to be fair, don't ever think that you're so good that you're infallible and that you're incapable of some of the worst behaviors. Okay, guys, I just dropped the link. I would love to hear from you guys. I got about 20 minutes before I got to get out of here and get to the gym. Let me hear from you guys. I'm going to play this song really quickly, and then once we get back, we're going to hear from our first guest.
I hit recorded, drop you.
All right, guys, welcome into the stage. My guess, what's up, bro? My guy Rush is in the building. Rush, what's good with you, man? How are you? And what was your thought about the story that I shared?
It's crazy that she lined up her husband for $2 million.
Before you go, it's like I hear some music in the background. I'm not sure where it's coming from, but I do hear it.
You still hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say this, man. Yeah, man, you gotta be careful, man, because these females ain't playing with y'all. You know what I mean? And matter of fact, you know what I mean, these hoes don't love you, so stay sucker free. My bad about the music, Sir Hill. I'll catch you on the flip. One.
Okay. 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 Sir Hill speaks in the building. That was interesting. That was shout out to my bro Rush with a quick word. Stay sucker free, guys. Listen, I want you guys to be successfully married, but I want you to go into this with your eyes wide open. All right. Good to see you. Shout out to Savage Entertainment. Good to see you tonight. Glad that you were here. Simon, I see you in the building. Are you camming up? Yeah, guys, if you're calling in, do me a favor and cam up. My goal is to be able to take clips from my shows and put it online. So if you can cam up, please cam up. If not, I'm going to be doing another show this Friday. Call in, cam up. I definitely want to hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts on the topic. Yeah, so Simon, let me know if you can cam up. If you can cam up, I'll go ahead and bring you up. Bravo with Sheila, ladies, let's chat, says this is absolutely crazy. Premeditated of scheme, cold-blooded murder of someone she possibly proclaimed she loved. Absolutely. Is when you think about stories like this, and what's sad is I'm not shocked, because in this climate you see so much craziness. It's just you have to take lessons from this. And then we have to help equip other people to know what to look out for to prevent this from happening. My condolences to that man's family. Very, very tragic to hear what happened. All right, Simon Hackney, I'll come out another time. All right. I love the topic. Excellent. Yeah, Simon, I'm going to be again on Friday around 6 as well. I'd love to have you up here. All right. All good, guys. Okay, guys. So listen, all in all, I'm going to leave you with this nugget is when we have conversations about relationships, we have to have these kind of topics, and we have to talk about it from both sides. It ain't just modern women who are at fault here, and it's not just men. And it's very difficult to have a balanced conversation, because sometimes if you balance it out, people can't distribute it. Responsibility sometimes prevents people from taking accountability. So if we share it, being instead of me looking at my contribution to a fair relationship, or just look at the outcome of your life, if it's distributed, I get a chance to point at you and your flaws as the reason why there's something wrong with the relationship. And so sometimes you can't have a balanced, quote unquote, balanced dialogue. You have to isolate an issue and deal with that. so that we can at least fix something and then move on to the next problem. But every now and again, we have to have a conversation that calls out the issues we see in everybody. And this particular issue, even though it was a woman doing this to a man, she did this to him. There have been stories where a husband has done something very similar to his wife, and a search party is been deployed to find her, and all along he's the one responsible for her going missing. So this issue is not specific to a particular gender. It's about character. And I want to make sure that if you're going to be in a relationship, that you're able to see past a person's behaviors and you have the tools that it takes to see their character so that you can be successful. Because marriage is beautiful if you're with the right person. And I want you guys to have that. Well, listen, it has been a privilege to be on the show with you guys tonight. I appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to be back again Friday around 6 o'clock to do a different show. But be sure to take a look at this video. Leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this. And be sure to hit the like button. I've been out of the algorithm for about 3-4 weeks now, and I'm getting back into it. So every like, every comment helps to that end. I appreciate you guys. Much love to you. Have a great night. And be sure, if you haven't been to the gym, get to the gym. Let's work it out. Healthy lifestyle. Much love, everybody. I'll talk with you guys again soon. Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the one and the only Sir Hell Speaks in the building.